glitch, but now I'm ready to go. Just checking on your stocks. Tesla's up, Nvidia's down. Well, that's all you need to know. Everything else is a little bit flat today so far. All right, locals. Let me make sure I can see your comments. There we go. Do 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 do. Wow, what a day. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the highlight of human civilization. It's called Coffee with Scott Adams. It's the best thing that ever happened to you. But if you'd like to take a chance on elevating your experience up to levels that no one can even understand with their tiny, shiny human brains, all you need for that is a copper mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. And it happens now. Go. Oh, I feel elevated. I don't know about you. We've got a YouTube sound problem. Let's see what's going on here. YouTube doesn't have sound. Sorry about that. But everything else is working, it looks like, except for YouTube. Well, I guess I will just see if I can kill YouTube. There's nobody watching. Wait, why is that not working? 0 people watching on YouTube, it says. Huh. I don't know. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. So we will upload the YouTube video separately after this. All right? All right. Good idea. If only I could turn it off somehow. Oh, wait. A whole bunch of people just appeared on YouTube. I wonder if that means I can see it. Let me know if it comes back on, okay? YouTube is working now. All right, YouTubers, thanks for being so patient. Well, let's check in on the news first, the technology. Rice Mason Noble is reporting that there's a new small study that they did in India, and they found that blowing into a conch, C-O-N-C-H, a conch, might help those with sleep apnea. So they had people blow into this shell, a conch shell, and those who did not have nearly as much sleep apnea. Now, they did not report how the conch itself slept, but I feel like slept pretty well, if you know what I mean. All right, you'll have to think about that one for a little bit. Take your time. Take your time. And now. Good. Okay. So I was telling you that ChatGPT launched version 5, and people were not impressed. And I've been predicting for some time that AI may have started to plateau and maybe won't get that much better that quickly. It'll get better, but maybe not so quickly anymore. Well, apparently there were enough complaints about GPT-5 that they pulled it back and just said, why don't you use 4 for a while again? And I guess it was some specific technical problem that they've identified and fixed. So it might be a very temporary thing. But GPT-5 was underwhelming, Apparently, it was dumber than 4, but they know why, so they've already fixed it. That was embarrassing, but they are in the kind of business where, going fast and making mistakes and fixing them is exactly what they probably need to be doing. As long as it doesn't release a super intelligence into the world with no guardrails that will kill us all. All right. Um, Harvard has announced a major breakthrough in the fight against dementia, they say. They believe that microdoses of a new lithium compound will maybe just really make a big difference, because apparently it makes a big difference in dementia-ridden mice. Now, I believe I looked up on Grok once how often a drug that works with mice ends up working and being approved and everything for a human being. What do you think is the ratio? If it works with mice in a lab, what are the odds that it will also work on humans and be safe and get approved? I feel like it was 1 in 14. I think it was 1 in 14, but it might have been much worse than that. Yeah, it's not even 25%. It's a very small number, 10%. Yeah, maybe 10%. All right. And I saw on social media that Tesla is the only car company, maybe it was American. No, I think the only car company that's making cash. So Tesla produced something like $16 billion in cash. So that's not profitability, because profitability could be, just on paper. But cash is what you care about. If it's producing lots of cash, you have a really good company. So it's the only one. All the other car companies are actually losing cash. Did you know that? That there's only one car company in the entire world that operates profitably? Well, the others might be profitable on paper, but only one of them produces cash, more cash than it uses. Tesla. Weird. So, what else is happening? As my papers stick together. Solved. There's also a report that Tesla might be trying to enter the Britain energy market. I saw a Sawyer Merritt post on this. And the idea is, don't know the details, but it looks like Tesla, at least a component of Tesla, will be involved with maybe power walls and I don't know what else. Maybe solar panels, but at least power walls. And it feels like the market for power walls is almost unlimited, doesn't it? Because my house, I looked into it. The only reason that I don't have a power wall is because the process of buying one is so bad that I gave up. I was sold like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a power wall, and they made the process so unpleasant of all the things I have to do and the information I have to give them and the scheduling and the phone calls and the phone calls and the follow-up phone calls for the follow-up meeting. That's just an initial meeting for the follow-up. Oh my God, it was just unbearable process. So I just bailed out in the middle of it because I couldn't handle the incompetence. But as a product, if you just had a normal size house, which I don't, I would definitely get one. I can't imagine that I wouldn't if I could afford it. Well, Trump is pushing his IQ test idea for Jasmine Crockett and AOC. Uh, he it's such a summer story again that Trump puts another Truth Social post in which it's just this long uh, complaining thing about AOC and AOC, the other three that we never remember, the squad. And then Jasmine Crockett, he's calling both of them low IQ. And then he clarifies, Trump does, when he says low IQ, he puts in parentheses, very, with lots of exclamation points. Very. They're not just low IQ, in his opinion, they're very. All of which I find funny. And sure enough, but I love what it does. It makes us wonder if which one is dumber. And instead of thinking, well, that's not very nice of him, all I'm thinking is, I wonder which one is dumber. If they took that IQ test, I wonder how that would come out. I'm a little bit curious, I must say. I don't think they're going to take an IQ test, but I do suspect both of them would do fine, actually, on an IQ test. If I had to guess, let's see, if I had to guess, I would put them both at 120 IQ, which would be pretty solid. It'd be good enough to get elected to Congress. That's what I think. Anyway, J.D. Vance said on a interview yesterday, he said that we're going to see a lot of people get indicted over Russiagate. Do you believe that? Do you believe that a lot of people will be indicted over Russiagate? And would one of those people be Hillary Clinton? And would one of those people be Barack Obama? I feel as though Barack Obama would be the last who might be indicted. I can't imagine he'd be in the first, the beginning of the list. It's possible. But I feel like they might want to tiptoe into it and make sure that they got something like a conviction on a lower level person. Maybe somebody will flip on him. Maybe it just makes it easier to sell to the public if somebody's already been convicted as being on his team. It makes it a little more obvious that if people are convicted, for their participation with him, it wouldn't surprise you if he got indicted. So we'll see. But Hillary Clinton, how in the world do you avoid indicting her, like right up front? Because she's literally the genesis for the entire Russiagate hoax. If she gets away with it, I don't know. We might see some prosecutors being murdered, or, or as Hillary likes to say, suicide again. Coincidentally, we'll see. Apparently, Trump might be giving an announcement right now as I speak. I'm not sure, but he was going to tell us what he planned for Washington, D.C. We believe, according to the reporting, that there will be FBI agents who maybe have already been assigned to help the D.C. police to prevent violent crime. Now, the FBI agents would not be pulling people over and giving them tickets or anything like that, but they might be there to assist. And then, separately, Trump is reportedly considering sending the National Guard into D.C., again, for policing, but probably not doing what police do, not arresting people, just being a military presence and maybe an assistant to the police, whatever they need. So Trump seems very determined to make Washington, D.C. a livable city again. I feel like this is a 90-10 issue, not even 80-20. What do you think? Now, I saw Christopher Rufo saying on social media that it's a timing it's going to be a timing challenge. If Trump can solve Washington, D.C. and just clean it up really quickly, then the bad guys won't have time to organize any kind of a counter message, and it'll just be over. It'll just be a safe place, and they'll have to ignore it. They'll have to pretend he didn't accomplish that. But if it takes him a while to get his act together, then the bad people might move, and maybe slow down and turned into he's being an authoritarian oligarchy guy, or as I call it, an authorigarchy. He's sort of an authorigarchy guy. Um, but it does seem to me that there'd be very few people who would complain about making the streets safer. Apparently, the big problem, I don't know if you knew this, but in Washington, D.C., if you're a minor and you get caught stealing a car, you're basically, you don't even get it on your record, I think. I think you just skate. And so a lot of the car thieves are organized groups of underage, children who are willing to steal cars. So a lot of it can't be helped by putting them in jail because it's not an option. They don't stay there. Um, so maybe you just need somebody watching. Somebody's got a big gun over their shoulder just watching all the time. Might be the only thing that works. So I'm watching or listening to, I guess, some video of RFK Jr. And have you noticed that just very recently, and I mean maybe only the last week, has his voice improved? Because I heard a video of him talking where he had the raspiness he always has, but he didn't have all that catch in his voice where his voice would fall apart. It feels like he's taking it up to the next level, and I was sure that he could. I was fairly sure that if he changed his voice production technique, that he could smooth that out. And I'm wondering, a couple of possibilities. One is that they're using AI on the video, which would be very smart, by the way, because they could clone his voice and then just dub his own voice in over his own voice, and having the imperfect voice just replaced with an AI version of a perfect one. I feel like they could do that like really easily with AI. So it might be that, because none of them were live. It looked like they were pre-recorded. The other possibility is that he's breathing differently and producing the voice differently, or maybe he just tried something else. Maybe he found something else that works. I don't know, but it was kind of exciting for me just to watch his improvement. Well, Bill Maher had Drew Barrymore on his show, his Club Random show, and Drew Barrymore said, talking about all this censorship and sensitivities of people and stuff, she said, it's just way too dangerous now to speak the truth. But here's the thing, when she said it's too dangerous to speak the truth, Bill Maher acted like they were on the same page, and the problem was the left and all the wokeness. But I feel like she might have been talking about the right. Am I right about that? I didn't see the whole clip, but it felt like she was saying that with all the authorigarchy going on, that it would be too dangerous for somebody on the left to simply talk the truth. And then Bill Maher, of course, thinking everything's about him, turned it into how the left is always attacking him. I don't feel like they were necessarily on the same topic, were they? I don't know. But Bill Maher said he had a little thought that he plays when the left gets on him. His quote, just get the F off of me. Huh. Just get the F off of me. Hmm. I don't know what that's reminding me of, but of something. Well, the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, um, he's going on TV. He is shamelessly going on TV and talking about other states, meaning Texas, gerrymandering and acting like it's this big, terrible authorigarchy kind of a thing to do. So then he gets challenged with the fact that he was behind the gerrymandering of his own state, and it's considered one of the most grotesquely gerrymandered states of all the states. And he has to respond to the fact that he's complaining about the exact thing he did. The exact, and not even, it's not even like an approximate thing or something that reminds you of something. It's the exact thing. He over gerrymandered his state to completely remove power from one side, and that's what he's complaining about Texas. And so, what does he do when he's challenged and he's on camera and it's live and he has to answer to doing exactly the thing that he's on camera to complain about the other people doing? What's he do? Word salad. He goes totally word salad, and he just starts talking, and words come out of his mouth, and you're like, "What? Wait, what? What is that even related to the? Are you going to circle back to that? Well, but are we on the same time? This is English, right?" And it's just hilarious, with no sense of shame whatsoever. He just starts saying a bunch of words, and when you're done, you're like, "Oh my god, all he did was chew up the time." And he's completely shameless. And he'll probably go on another interview and do the same thing. And they let him get away with it because they ran out of time. Well, Bernie Sanders is being a little bit mean to Kamala Harris. And apparently he's not expecting her to run for president anytime soon. And apparently what Bernie said to Dana Bash, who was talking to him, and Bernie said, quote, "One of the reasons, in my view, that Kamala Harris lost this election is she had too many billionaires telling her not to speak up for the working class of this country." Do you think that happened? Do you think that behind closed doors there were too many billionaires who were warning Kamala, no, stop it. Don't speak up for the working class. No, don't do that. Don't speak up for the working class. Yeah, we want to keep all that money. Does anybody believe that something like that happened? I doubt it, but that's the best Bernie can come up with. And then even Dana Bash responded with "ouch," because he was being so pointed about Kamala Harris. And then Bernie goes, "Well, no, I don't think that's. I like her. She's a friend of mine, but her core consultants, were heavily influenced by very wealthy people." He goes, "How do you run for president and not develop a strong agenda which speaks to the economic crises facing working families?" Okay. Did Bernie Sanders recommend something specific? Don't all the Democrats have the same problem, and they're all blaming each other of that problem? And that problem is they're not saying anything that could be implemented as in a policy that would be good for working class people. They like talking about them. They like saying that other people aren't talking about them enough. They like saying that Republicans are stealing from them. They like saying that Democrats need to focus on them more. They like to say that they need to fight harder for the working class people. But what they don't say ever is what the hell they're going to do for the working class people. And when they do, it's being said by Kami Mandami, and everybody who knows anything about anything says, well, those are the worst ideas I've ever heard in my life. It's amazing to me that the Democrats even have a party. Like, who goes to the party, the political party, and they don't have a single policy recommendation for the core group that they all believe that everybody's ignoring too much except for them? Got anything? Anything on affordability? Nope. And then Sanders said this, and I quote, "Well, but in a vague, I don't want to rehash that campaign." In other words, he didn't know what he was talking about. But I think the clue to Democratic victories is to understand you've got You've got to stand unequivocally with the working class. Okay. And what exactly does standing with them get you? What is it you're asking for? All right. Do you ever see a title to an article and you knew you just didn't have to read it? All right. The Wall Street Journal has an article in which the headline is President Trump is imitating the Chinese Communist Party by extending political control ever deeper into the economy. This is by Greg Ip. Now, would you bother reading that article? It's an article comparing Trump to the Chinese Communist Party. Does it seem to you that that would be worth your time? No. If there's anything I've taught you, it's that in the world of persuasion, it's only comparisons that matter. That's why they say Trump is Hitler. It's why they say Trump is imitating the Chinese Communist Party. It's just all they're trying to do is find a way to smear him by association because they don't have enough actual policy preferences that would be better than whatever the hell he's doing. So, no, I'm not going to read that Wall Street Journal. That's crazy. According to PJ Media and Matt Margolis, he's writing, did you know, I didn't know this, I learned this today, that Obama's rise to power was entirely based on gerrymandering? So remember he was that junior senator from Illinois? If his state had not been super gerrymandered just for him, he didn't really have a chance of winning. So Obama is a completely artificial candidate. He was created by gerrymandering. So that's interesting. How did I not know that before? Well, according to the New York Post, Bethany Mandel is writing that New Jersey's electric bill tripled this summer. Tripled? How does your electric bill triple? Did they cancel some power plants or something? There must be more to this story, but I didn't see it. Anyway, but apparently New Jersey in general is getting more expensive. So besides that, property taxes are up 6%, car insurance up 15%, home insurance up 17%, and health insurance up 19%. Now, given that 60% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck, the numbers I just gave you, these are all the things that a middle-class family just has to have, right? They have to pay for gas, they have to have electricity, they have to have healthcare. And these increases for New Jersey would make it completely unlivable for the middle class. If they were already right at the edge and 60% of them could just barely, get to the next paycheck, how in the world do they all handle insurance up 17, health insurance up 19%, and et cetera, tripling of your electric costs? How in the world can they afford that? Something's getting ready to tip really hard, and I don't think it's just voting. There will certainly be some voting changes, I would hope, but I don't understand how New Jersey can even still be a viable state with these increases. Like, actually, I don't know how they could be a viable state. There must be something going on I don't know about. There's been a lot of chatter online about who invented slavery and the history of slavery. And I saw a post that says that there was some survey that found out that most Hispanic, Black, and Asian women think that, quote, white people invented slavery. Is there even one person who's watching this podcast? Even one? And of many, I don't know, thousands at this point? I'll bet there's not one of you who believes that white people invented slavery. Am I right? I'll bet not one of you. It's pretty basic history, is to know that slavery has been with us from the beginning of time, and everybody did it. Pretty much everybody. And the movement against it, according to Thomas Sowell, was not until the Quakers and some other religious groups went after it in the 18th century. So mostly white people. Now, I feel as though people are trying to win an argument based on what happened hundreds of years ago. So if you want reparations, you say those white people have been doing it for hundreds of years. And if you wanted to go the opposite direction, you'd say everybody's been doing it forever. White people were more associated with stopping it than promoting it. However, I say I don't care. I don't care what any strangers' relatives were doing hundreds of years ago. Are you telling me that I should be somehow taxed or pay some money or something for something that strangers' relatives did hundreds of years ago? I don't care whose relatives they were, whether they're mine or anybody else's. It has nothing to do with me. So I care about what's happening today and now. And it might be true that there's, some groups that are disadvantaged because of the history of slavery, to which I say, I don't care. Everybody's got some problem. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a problem. Some people have health problems. Some people are ugly. Some people are addicted. Some people, have abusers in their life. Some people have been victims of horrible crimes. Some people have low IQ and they're trying to get by. Everybody's got a problem. Everybody. And you can't tell me that I'm part of your problem. I'm not part of anybody's problem. I don't know any of those people. I'm not connected to this story at all. So no, um, it might be entirely true that some groups are disadvantaged by something that happened hundreds of years ago. I don't care. Why should that affect me? All right. Um, apparently, NVIDIA and AMD, the chip makers, agreed with Trump to provide the U.S. with 15% of revenue from their chip sales to China in return for the U.S. government removing export controls on those high-end chips. So once again, if this is true, so this is this morning's reporting, but if this is true, Trump has once again monetized a problem that was unsolvable. The unsolvable problem was that we could try to prevent China from getting these chips, but they were going to get them anyway. So they would just, get them through cutouts and illegal ways, and then maybe they would just, try harder to replace them with their own homegrown chips. So Trump, realizing here I'm just speculating what he was thinking. Trump realizing that you can't really stop China from getting the chips. You could work really hard at it, you could ban them, but they're going to get the chips. So instead, he simply says, all right, you can sell them chips, but you have to give 15% to the government. We're basically your partner now. And apparently, NVIDIA and AMD agreed to that. So once again, Trump finds a problem that he can't solve because it might be just unsolvable by its nature. So he monetizes it. He just finds a way to make a profit for the US government. I don't hate this. Even you can look at the individual situations and say, I don't like that one or I don't like that one. But I kind of love what he's doing to reframe the role of the government. That if the government is part of your success, well, the government gets a taste. And you and I are the government, right? So why should you and I pay a bunch of taxes for our American defense and American government but it's just going to help some company that I don't own stock in. Like, why would I be doing that? Doesn't it make more sense if we help you, you help us? So that's all Trump is doing. He's saying if we're going to help you get into this market and protect you, well, we should get a taste. So maybe it's a good idea. Well, Mexico's president is taking the side of Venezuela's Maduro, who has been attacked by Trump and the administration as being a terrorist and a drug trafficker. And he's being accused by the U.S. government of being a leader of the Cartel de los Soles, which is responsible for drug trafficking. Now, I've never really seen this before. Maybe it's happened before, but they're not even treating him like he's the head of the government. They're treating him like he's the head of the cartel that just happened to have conquered a government. And this will be interesting because once you say the guy's the head of a cartel, it feels like there's nothing that we wouldn't be willing to do to him. So if Maduro gets, let's say, taken out, you shouldn't be too surprised, right? China has been, they began construction on the world's biggest hydropower project, water power. Apparently, there's this enormous river in China, and they've got this almost unimaginably ambitious project to conquer it and turn it into an energy supply. $167 billion facility. And it will be an engineering miracle if they can pull it off, which people think they can. But did you know that China imports nearly a quarter of its energy supply? So China is trying to become more self-sufficient. Yeah, no, it's bigger than the Seven Gorges, I believe. It's going to be bigger than that. Anyway, so it feels like the war that China and the U.S. are in is to see who can become less dependent on the other, the fastest. And China's going to work on becoming energy independent, and we're going to work on having our own manufacturing, I guess, having our own, what do you call it, rare earth minerals. Speaking of which, a startup called Vulcan Elements has raised $65 million in the U.S. to create rare earth magnets. So that's what we're doing. We're going as hard as we can on rare earth, and they're going as hard as they can on energy because we live in this big connected world. And I hate to say it, but it's the economic requirement that we all have to live off of each other that probably keeps us from going to war. I'm a little bit afraid if the big powers become self-sufficient with everything. Because if we don't have a little bit of dependence on those other countries, it's going to be kind of easier to get into a war. So we'll see. According to The Atlantic, the world's population collapse, I'm sorry, is, let me take a drink. I don't know what's wrong with my throat today. That's better. The baby shortage is worse than you think. And we're going to have a worldwide collapse faster than the experts thought. But did you know that Chile and Colombia are only having one child per woman, and Thailand is less than one? So it's not just the rich countries. So even Chile, Colombia, and Thailand are not reproducing. So why is that? Yeah, because when I think of the China and the U.S., I think, oh, it's just economic. People can't afford it. But is that true everywhere? Did it suddenly become too expensive in every country at the same time? Do they have a housing problem in Thailand? They might. I don't know. So I don't know why it's happening everywhere. So there's a deeper mystery to the lack of babies. And I would say again that if the problem is the cost of living, that we should build freedom cities that are optimized for having a family. Because I've told you this a number of times, but until it gets solved, I'll just keep saying it. The ultimate place to live if you have a young family is where there are other young families. And you can't do better than that because you can take turns watching kids and they have sleepovers and but with your friend, etc. So it's way easier to raise kids if you're around other people raising kids. So if you build a freedom city that's optimized for a low cost of living and a high quality contact with other people in the same age range and same interests, it would be amazing. You could build it tomorrow. It would just be you just need approvals, basically. Um, Apparently, colleges are having a tough time scrambling to fill their roles because of all the foreign students who are staying home or have been banned from their colleges. And apparently, it's a pretty big deal. Uh, there's going to be a 30 to 40% decline in new international student enrollment. So 150,000 fewer international students in this country. So people who are much deeper on the wait list, in other words, people who didn't get in, will be getting in. So that's good. Um, yeah, it's boring. Um, so there's a new synthetic opioid that's way worse than even fentanyl, and even way worse in that the Narcan, which can save you if you have a fentanyl overdose, doesn't work on this. So what is it called? Nitazene, Nitazene, nitazene. So watch out for that. Kids are already dropping dead, taking a pill that they think is one thing. It turns out to be filled with nitazene. So don't take that. So allegedly, Putin and Trump are going to meet and talk about Ukraine, but I don't think there's any chance this will work because um, Zelensky is making videos saying that there's no possibility of Ukraine giving land away for peace. And that's really the only deal. And he says that, Zelensky says, that the Constitution of Ukraine prevents him from even having that conversation because he doesn't have the power to give anything away. Now, will Trump come back and say, I got a deal, and your part of the deal is you got to do a constitutional convention and vote on whether or not we can end the war by giving away this property? Would he do it? I feel like Zelensky is going to go all the way. And as long as he's in office, he's never going to say yes to peace, I feel like. And so it might be that Trump has to get rid of Zelensky before anything productive can happen. We'll see. But we'll watch that. I feel like the odds of this producing a three-way agreement for peace are basically zero, don't you? Basically zero. So, but I'll be surprised. I would love to be wrong. Well, Israel bombed an Al Jazeera reporter who was in Gaza and killed him, as well as four of his coworkers who were also Al Jazeera reporters, because they said that the one guy, was actually a Hamas operator. Now, I don't know if that's true, but they killed him and his whole team intentionally. Um, 4 confirmed dead, so maybe him and 3 others. Now, does that seem a little convenient to you? That whenever there's people reporting on Gaza, which is the last thing that Israel would want to happen, that they're also working with Hamas. So you better kill them all. I don't know. So here's my warning about the war zone. 100% of the information coming out of the war zone is not credible. Some of it might be true, but it's not credible. You can't believe it's true just because it showed up in the newspaper. So, do we know that this Al Jazeera guy was really working for Hamas? Well, we don't know that. Could it be that Israel just decided to kill him because the last thing they want is any living reporters in that area? Possibly. I don't have any information to suggest that's the case, but possibly. So I would say this is exactly the kind of story you should say to yourself, okay, it's a total shit show over there. People do terrible things on both sides. This is probably more of that, but we don't know which side was doing the terrible thing. Obviously, if the 3 people who were with him were innocent reporters, that would be pretty bad. Um, I guess so. Australia has decided to recognize a Palestinian state. What exactly do they think that looks like? Do they think that Israel is just going to suddenly say, "Oh, all right, Gaza is a Palestinian state now. Go ahead, you guys. You can have Gaza and the West Bank, and we'll get rid of all of our settlements." Do they really think any of that's going to happen? I don't believe it. Um, And Bernie Sanders is now saying that Netanyahu is a war criminal, just as much as the head of Hamas is a war criminal. So he's now basically acting like they're morally similar, or at least legally similar in terms of war crimes. You can pick your war criminal, pick your preference. The only thing I have to say about that is that I try not to impose my own ethical or moral standard on a situation which does not operate on ethics or morality. It's purely self-interest of the countries. And if I observe that Israel is, I'll say, effectively pursuing their own national self-interest, what else am I to say about it? The only thing that I have to say about it is whether the U.S. should be funding any part of that. And I'm not a big fan of that. So I observe that Israel seems to be getting what they want at the moment, and it would be unlikely that they would say, you know what, we've decided that we're just going to do the opposite of everything we've said we would do before. So I think as long as Israel has the power to get what they want, they'll just keep getting what they want. And that's the whole analysis right there. About the U.S., EJ. Oh, it's EJ. I thought it was a serious person, but it's just my troll. Obviously, I don't have to say the obvious parts because then the troll. Well, never mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is a very slow news day, but I think Trump will pick it up a little bit. It might get really newsy really fast. But I'm going to talk to my local subscribers privately. And the rest of you, thanks for joining. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. All right. Locals, I will be private with you in 30 seconds.